Hello everyone, this is Blister again, and today we're going to be going over the talents for the Rogue in Classic WoW. The Rogue is one of my favorites from Classic. It wasn't perfect, but it was still a lot of fun. We're going to start off with the simple here and take a look at Combat. Combat is the most popular spec for leveling and for most of the endgame rating. We're going to take a look at two of the most popular specs for Combat. It is worth mentioning that both of these specs are used for raiding and PvE. The first of the Combat specs we're going to look at is the Dagger spec. This spec is great for early raiding when you have 2 daggers. Dropping 5 points into the sub-tree for opportunity is going to be a huge increase for your DPS. Not only is it going to help you with your openers for ambush, it also increases the damage of your most commonly used skill, Backstab. Looking at the combat tree, we take the best we can get for the first tier. While we would prefer to be casting backstabs, Sinister Strike may be the skill that we have to use from time to time, especially in solo play, which is why we take it over maxing out Improved Gouge. Speaking of which, the Lightning Reflex talent points are flexible here, so if you like Improved Gouge more, just take it. Improved Backstab is the second reason why we want to be using Backstab as much as possible. Having an extra 30% crit is an amazing thing. Endurance and Improved Sprint are also both optional here. Most rogues will take them because, who doesn't like to move faster while they're playing? That being said, they aren't exactly requirements. The next talent to point out is that we actually are using Dagger specialization, and that's why this spec is called the Dagger spec. This, increased with the backstab damage increases we have, is what makes this spec so viable. The last 2 talents to note are Blade Flurry and Adrenaline Rush. These are going to be your 2 big cooldowns. Blade Flurry is your AoE ability, while Adrenaline Rush is your big damage boost from all of the energy regen. Looking at the assassination tree, it's really unfortunate that we don't have one more talent point available to get the last point into lethality, but Relentless Strikes is very much a requirement, again, because of the energy regen. Improved Slice and Dice is the only other notable talent choice here. It will be one of the 2 main combo spenders that you're going to be using while playing this spec. So now that we've looked at the Dagger spec, let's take a quick look at what the Sword spec would look like. First thing you'll notice is that we drop opportunity in the sub-tree because we're no longer using Backstab, since we don't have daggers. The only other noticeable difference here is the addition of Sword specialization, aggression, and improved poisons. Depending on the weapons you're using, one could argue that Sword specialization is optional. What I mean by this is that if you are running combat and you're not using daggers, use the weapon specialization that matches the weapons you're using. It's just good common sense. Aggression here makes a lot of sense now just because you're running Sinister Strike instead of Backstab. Next up is Assassination. Assassination found an interesting spot in Classic. It seemed not to have much play in the earlier days of raiding, but as the gear continued to get more powerful, Assassination found its way into the picture. Most Assassination rogues only became Assassination once they were able to hit the crit cap, which was usually around time of AQ 40. Here's an example of what the Dagger Assassination rogue's talents would look like. As you can see, we take 5 out of 5 of opportunity again because we'll be using Backstab as much as possible. Looking at the combat tree, it's almost identical to what we had with the Combat Dagger spec, except for the fact that we stopped after 16 points. The same can be said about the Assassination tree, except for we've continued now down to 30 points instead of just 15. Those extra talents let us pick up Improved Eviscerate, Cold Blood, and most importantly, Seal Fate. While the guaranteed crit from Cold Blood is nice, Seal Fate is what really drives the Assassination spec. Some of you may be questioning why we didn't take Vigor. The answer is quite simple. It's a crap talent. 10 more energy is horrible for the final skill in this tree. There is a reason why Vigor does so much more on live servers at the moment. On top of that, One single point into dual wield specialization is going to actually give us more DPS. One talent set that is debatable here is the improved poisons. Some people may take murder instead, which would be completely viable. That said, let's take a look at the sword assassination build. Again, you'll notice a pattern. It's very similar to the combat sword spec. The biggest thing you'll notice in the combat tree is that we played around a little bit with the interchangeable skills, improved gouge, lightning reflexes, and deflection. The nice part about going sword spec with assassination is that it allows you to pick up blade flurry in combat with the 5 extra points that we don't have to drop into opportunity because we're not using daggers. In terms of the actual assassination tree, nothing is different other than flexing 2 points from improved poisons to murder. And again, that's just a personal preference. The last assassination spec I wanted to touch on was a PvP spec. Here's an example of what the base assassination PvP spec would look like. You'll notice that with this build we have improved backstab, so it's safe to say that this is actually a dagger build for PvP assassination. Assassination tree remains very similar to what it was before. However, we do drop improved slice and dice and add 2 other very strong PvP talents in improved exposed armor and improved kidney shot. Both of those talents are going to essentially just add to our overall damage while PvPing. The other talents worth mentioning here are in the sub-tree. We've taken both improved ambush and master of deception. Some people will say to drop the 3rd improved ambush talent and drop it into vigor, but like I said before, vigor just really isn't good at all. Master deception, on the other hand, is pretty much a requirement for any PvP build while you're playing a rogue. So now that we've dipped into the PvP stuff, let's take a look at what the sub build for a rogue would look like. So this is where the rogue starts to get a little bit interesting. The 21 points thrown into assassination are solely there to get to cold blood. Having that guaranteed crit is going to play in very nicely with how sub plays. Now let's take a look at the sub tree. The first thing I want to say is that we only need to go 21 points deep for sub. Once you get preparation, you don't need to continue to dump points into sub. In this example, we have put a few extra into sub, but a lot of them are movable talent choices. Preparation is your biggest cooldown with this spec. It's also arguably the best cooldown you have. Vanish is your get out of jail free card, but now you essentially have 2 vanishes because of preparation. Not only that, but all of your other major cooldowns, like even cold blood, are reset when you use preparation. Aside from preparation, we do pick up some other amazing talents for the sub-tree. Ghostly Strike is a fantastic talent. The dodge that you get when you use this is going to be a major part of your survivability while in PvP. Serrated Blades is another talent that's pretty much a requirement for sub. Most of your damage is going to be dealt with Rupture as your target just bleeds to death, so having Serrated Blades will help tremendously with that. Hemorrhage is a big discussion point. A lot of rogues will say it's required, and a lot will not. Obviously, we have taken it here, but that is because we like it over the other choices we had. The only other talent that gets close to be considered as a requirement is improved sap. A lot of people taking on Classic for the first time probably don't realize that sap used to pop the rogue out of stealth. Other than that, talents like camouflage, elusiveness, initiative, heightened senses, and even dirty deeds could all be considered optional. A lot of specs you will see will actually have the rogue running 21, 8, 22. That's why I said the rogue gets interesting here. There is a lot of room to play with talents for the rogue when it comes to building a sub-spec. Some rogues will even drop 5 out of 5 points into deadliness. Well guys, that sums up the rogue. Hopefully you found this informative, and hopefully it will help you guys make the right choice when you decide to pick up the rogue when Classic drops. Let me know what classes you guys want to see next. I have the warrior on deck, but if someone asks for something different, I might just have to do that instead. As always guys, take care and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, it's Radit here. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. We put out multiple new videos each week and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for watching, everyone, and cheers.